The European Space Agency, the ISS team is telling us, thank you.
You're watching HNNCast with Space Rogue on the Hacker News Network.
HNN is sponsored by Astaro, simplifying security. Become a sponsor. Email sales@hackernews.com.
This is Space Rogue for the Hacker News Network, and this is HNNCast for the third week of December 2009. This week we have stories on Segvec, RockYou's plain text passwords, DECAF for your coffee, and hackers need not apply. But first, our top story. Iraqi and Afghanistan insurgents have reportedly intercepted live video feeds from the U.S. military's Predator drones using a $25.95 copy of Skygrabber for Windows. The application allows you to track the pilotless aircraft undetected and to see the video feeds the aircrafts are downloading to soldiers on the ground in real time. Soldiers are using Rover, or a remotely operated video-enhanced receiver. Insurgents just grab an old satellite TV dish. Since the video feeds lack any sort of encryption technology, it's just a simple matter of loading up the software. The problem not only affects Predator drones, but also AC-130 gunships, F-16 and FA-18 fighters, Harrier jump jets, the B-1B bomber, and my favorite, the tank killer A-10 Warthog. The Air Force has known about the problem since at least 1999, but has now supposedly addressed the issue, whatever the hell that means. One thing's for sure, if you're using off-the-shelf software, you didn't hack anything. Of course, if you want to build your own Predator drone for a 99% discount, be sure to catch Michael Wiegand's talk at ShmooCon in February. I'm pretty sure you can add encryption if you want. An SQL injection vulnerability discovered on RockYou.com's website has placed 32 million users at risk. The vulnerability, widely publicized by Igigi, exposes users' email addresses and plaintext passwords. To make matters worse, the default password for a RockYou account has to be your email account password. Knowledge of the hole has been circulating in threads on various message boards. At the same time, it was being actively exploited. RockYou develops apps for popular social networking sites including Facebook, Bebo, and MySpace. They should really know better than to leave passwords around sitting in plain text. Despite Microsoft's assertions, a defense against COFEE, or Computer Online Forensics Evidence Extractor, has been developed. COFEE was originally only distributed to law enforcement via Interpol, but was recently released to the net accidentally. Now, DECAF, or Detect and Eliminate Computer Assisted Forensics, has been developed, which detects the presence of the COFEE USB drive and can immediately launch countermeasures such as erasing temporary files, clearing all COFEE logs, disabling USB drives, and spoofing MAC addresses. The developers hope to add additional features in the near future. DECAF can be found at decafme.org. Symantec CEO Enrique Salem recently said, quote, "You always worry about gray hats. Symantec has a standing policy that we don't hire anyone to be a part of our company who has done any kind of known hacking. We will not employ hackers," unquote. Must be a new policy, because 10 years ago they bought a whole bunch of hackers when they acquired the internet security startup At Stake, which itself had acquired Loft Heavy Industries, a hacker think tank, a few years earlier. I have to wonder what sort of test Symantec uses to determine if you're a hacker or not. I didn't realize that they had sequenced the hacker gene. The Department of Homeland Security has opened its virtual job fair as it attempts to fill 1,000 cybersecurity positions over the next 3 years. Positions start at $73,000 a year. Obviously, you must be a U.S. citizen. Interviews will start in January. Looks like they're looking for everything from pen testers to analysts to network engineers. Hey, if you need a job, you might as well apply. Who knows, you could work for Uncle Sam. Oh, and Facebook also has an opening for an information security engineer. The job description reads like some sort of alphabet soup: PCI, SOX, HIPAA, and of course CISSP. We'll be back with more HNNCast right after these messages. Welcome back to HNNCast. Details of Segvec's supposedly sealed plea agreement are starting to emerge. Reporters at Wired.com were able to glean numerous details from an improperly redacted sentencing memo filed by his attorney. The document indicates that Segvec, aka Albert Gonzalez, told prosecutors that he and his accomplices broke into at least 4 card processing companies, as well as numerous foreign banks, a brokerage house, and several retail chain stores. The document also mentions 2 Russians, who have now only been known as Hacker 1 and Hacker 2. They have now been identified as Grig and Annex. The document explains that Segvec cooperated fully with authorities, providing details of weaknesses in corporate security systems, how the data was exported from those companies, how it was stored on foreign servers in the Ukraine and Latvia, how stolen data was decrypted and by who, how profits were received via web currency, who was involved in the flow of that currency, and numerous other details. Segvec's lawyers have been also asked for a delay before sentencing, which has been granted by the judge until March 18th. It looks like they want to try the solo defense, as initial psychiatric reports indicate that Segvec suffers from Asperger's syndrome. However, they have so far refused the prosecution's request for an alternate psychological evaluation. An actively exploited zero-day attack against Adobe Acrobat Reader has been found that embeds malicious JavaScript into PDF files. Adobe has decided to give all the bad guys a huge Christmas present and doesn't plan to release a patch for the exploit until sometime in the middle of January. In the meantime, the hole has already been added to the Metasploit framework and is actively being exploited in the wild. Evidently, Adobe had to give all their developers the holidays off while all their customers continue to get owned. Be sure to protect yourself and turn off JavaScript in your copy of Acrobat Reader, or just delete it completely. The U.S. Senate Select Committee on Intelligence has established a cybersecurity task force to evaluate cyber threats to the United States and issue recommendations to the U.S. intelligence community as appropriate. Yeah, great. Another government task force that will just spend tax dollars, waste time with stupid hearings and town halls, and will then print up a nicely formatted report telling us what I and some other folks told the government a dozen years ago. Well, at least one of the task force members is Senator Snow, so maybe it won't be a total waste. It only took a couple of weeks, but the Barnes & Noble eBook reader, the Nook, has been rooted. Big deal, you say? Well, once you have root on a Nook, you have a $250 portable Android OS running computer with a built-in free cellular connection to the internet with a battery that lasts for days. The pen testing possibilities alone are mind-boggling. The question now is, what will Barnes & Noble's response be? We'll be right back with the H&N Quickies right after these messages.